Hey guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and today I'm sharing an excerpt with you of Sadie by Courtney Summers, and I'm going to go ahead and apologize now because the camera is going to shake. Kimba has to clean himself right next to the camera every time I pull it out. Cat things. Anyway, so today I'm sharing an excerpt, but I'm doing things a little bit differently. Sadie is kind of a story told in two parts. One part is Sadie's perspective, what's happening, and the other part is a pieced together podcast being told after the fact and with whatever information they have in the style of like Serial or S-Town. And because that's a little different for an excerpt, and I could just read from Sadie's perspective and it would be just a normal traditional excerpt, I kind of wanted to give you guys a feel of the kind of podcast side of things. So I'm going to be reading the podcast, which is multiple perspectives. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the name of who's speaking on the screen in the way that you would see it in the book. So allow me to show you. If you probably can't see that at all, but there are bolded names, and then it'll say, like, if it's on the phone or on a voicemail or something like that, it'll say that in parentheses. If it doesn't say anything, then it's a face-to-face conversation. I'm going to put the name of who's speaking to differentiate and do costume changes to differentiate, and I'm gonna read you a little snippet of Sadie. So hopefully this isn't a mess. Here we go. The full synopsis, before I get into it, the full synopsis and links to the book will be in the info, and as I said, this is kind of like a riff on a true crime podcast or an investigative podcast. There is a mystery at the heart of it. There is a dead girl and a missing girl, and what the heck is going on here? So you're kind of being plunged right into it in the way that you would the podcast if it were a real life thing, because they want to hook you. So that's what I'm going to do in this excerpt. I'm not going to go straight from the beginning. I'm going to go a couple of pages in once they're into the podcast and, starting at the beginning of the podcast, but hopefully hooking you a little bit more. So here we go, from Sadie by Courtney Summers. The body of Mattie Southern was discovered between the burning schoolhouse and the apple orchard, just out of sight. She'd been reported missing 3 days earlier, and here she was, found. Dead. I've decided the gruesome details of what was uncovered in that orchard will not be a part of this show. While the murder, the crime, might have captured your initial interest, its violence and brutality do not exist for your entertainment, so please don't ask us. The details of this case are easy enough to find online. In my opinion, you only really need to know two things. The first is the cause of her death was blunt force trauma to the head. The second is this. She was only 13 years old. I don't sleep great anymore since it happened. Mattie left behind a 19-year-old sister, Sadie, a surrogate grandmother, Maybeth, and her mother, Claire, but Claire's been out of the picture for a while. I first heard about the Southern murder at a gas station outside Abernathy, about 30 miles from Cold Creek. I was with my crew in the Eastern Plains, and we'd just wrapped interviews for a segment of an episode of Always Out There, dedicated to profiling small towns in America. You know, the kind on a rambling decline. We wanted their residents to tell us what those places lost, not because we thought we could restore them to their former glory, but simply so you knew they existed. We wanted to give them a voice before they disappeared. It's a nice thought anyway, and somebody gave a damn. That was Joe Halloran, one of the Abernathy residents we interviewed. I wasn't thinking about his words when I was standing behind the guy ahead of me at the gas station, listening as he told the clerk exactly what happened to the Southern kid. The grisly facts didn't inspire me to stick around. My crew and I had gotten what we came for, and we were ready to go back home. It was a terrible thing, sure, but we live in a world that has no shortage of terrible things. You can't stop for all of them. A year later, I was sitting in my office in New York. It was October, a year to the day Mattie died actually, the 3rd, and my attention kept wandering from my computer screen to the window, where I could see the Empire State Building. I liked my job at WNRK, and I liked my life in the city, but maybe some part of me, the same part that let me walk away from Mattie's story the first time without a second thought, was overdue for a shake-up. It arrived in the form of a phone call. Is this West McCray? It is. How can I help you? This is Maybeth Foster. Joe Halloran told me you give a damn. There'd been no new developments in the Mattie Southern case, no suspects named to the crime. The investigation seemed to have ground to a halt, but that wasn't the reason Maybeth contacted me. I need your help. 3 months ago, in mid-July, she'd gotten a call from a police station in Fairfield, Colorado, a town thousands of miles from Cold Creek. They'd found a 2007 black Chevy parked on the side of the road, and inside of it, a green bag full of personal effects belonging to Mattie's older sister, Sadie Hunter, who had disappeared that June. Sadie herself was nowhere to be found. She still hasn't been found. After a cursory investigation, Sadie was declared a runaway by local law enforcement, and having exhausted all possible avenues available to her, Maybeth Foster reached out to me. I was her last hope. She thought maybe I could bring Sadie back home to her alive, because Sadie had to be alive, because I can't take another dead girl. So there you have it. That is an excerpt of Sadie. And definitely keep an eye out on the blog, because I am doing a review for this as well. I sat down just to read a little bit for an excerpt and a first impressions, and just didn't put it down. It was compulsive. I was sick and dizzy, and looking at things was like really difficult for me because it was hard to focus without feeling nauseous, and I still powered through this. Oh, it's one of those, man, like it guts you so good. So keep an eye out for my review, where I probably just say those same things over again, hopefully more articulately. But that is all for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you intend to read this, or if you have what you thought, I highly recommend that you do pick this up, but you know, I'm just saying. But that is all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and as always, happy reading.